Welcome to Studio 125. It is a Tuesday night, so you know what that means. It's a time for men's soccer to use a new rotation. How did the Fail Dog team defeat Yale? And a new segment. All that and much more on Bobcat Breakdown. Welcome back. I'm your host, Keith Savage, alongside me are two volleyball beat reporters, Gage Kilburn and Eric Kerr. How are you guys feeling tonight?
Keith, I'm doing great, but unfortunately, as volleyball beat reporters, there is no volleyball questions in this rundown. So a little bit unfortunate, but back here again. Gage, your first time this semester, my second. I'm old school. I got the little Halloween clipboard here today. You're the new school over here. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Hey, you got to go a little bit techie every once in a while.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing's for sure. I'm looking forward to that new segment. Some genius must have created that or something.
Well, I don't know who it was, but we'll figure it out once we get to it.
Men's soccer started out the season red hot, winning their first 5 games. But now the team's lost 3 of their last 4. Most recently, it lost in MAC play this past Saturday against Marist. Guys, is it time for Coach Eric DeCosta to change up the rotation?
Gage is the first timer this semester. I'll let you go first.
All right. And the answer is no. You really can't change when you just begun. I mean, it would have been great to have changed up a little bit of the lineups, played up a little bit when you first began. But from that point, from once the season begins, after you play your first games that are non-conference, and you go from there to MAC play, you have to stay serious on the season. You can't be playing around, mixing up the lineups, and going from point A to point B and trying different roles. Your goal is to win a MAC championship, and it starts from playing with the lineups early, and then near the conference schedule, you then go right back to where you want to be and where it best fits your needs and your playing scheme. So that way, when you do want to go to win a MAC championship, you get there.
Right. I agree with you, Gage. And I'm going to talk about one of those players I saw in that full screen, and that was Griffin Scaglia. Talking a little bit about the defensive side. Henry Wagon was in the starting lineup in their loss against Marist, but Scaglia was in the starting lineup against Siena, and they won. And to another point, too, in terms of minutes being played, Bragasanwi was one of the top goal scorers for this team, had 2 goals when he played 87 minutes against Siena. When he played a little bit less minutes, 69 minutes against Marist, not so much, 0 goals. So the point is it's kind of the Gage's point. The minutes matter here. This is the time when MAC play is 2 games underway. It's 2 games underway at this point. You need to have a set lineup in place if you're DeCosta. You can't be changing things around at this point because at the end of the day, this is the time to win right now. It's time to win right now, so you got to make sure to have the key guys that you want in those rotations going forward to prepare yourselves for a better, higher seeding in the MAC in the future. So give the right minutes to the guys that need it the most right now. This is not the time to be trying different things out. That was out of conference play. This is in conference play. So you need to focus on the right now.
The men's soccer team is now 6-3, but who needs to step up for this Bobcats team?
So, who needs to step it up? Obviously, Gage, we know soccer, one of the most important positions in the game is to not let up goals into the net. And who's responsible for that?
It's the goalkeeper.
Oh, you got it correct. You see it on your screen right now, Andreas Haji Gavril. He is my guy that needs to step up because the first 4 starts, he started out so well. Goals against average in those first 4 games, 0.25 goals per game. Just 1 goal allowed in that strand against CCSU. He had 10 saves in that game on 11 shots faced. So the consistency there is superb, but not so much for the last 4 starts. Goals against average peaked to 3 goals per game, Gage. And he had 5 goals against New Hampshire, which granted, they are a pretty good team. One of the top teams in RPI rankings, but another team he gave up 3 goals against was against Northeastern. They're ranked 122. Quinnipiac is around the surface at the top 10 of the RPI rankings to put in perspective. So at the end of the day, this guy has to make sure that he steps up because, Jared Mazzola looming around the corner that could be back in the starting spot, which we know was a MAC goalkeeper last year, could not be a good omen for him going forward. So at the end of the day, goalies come first, most important part of the game.
Yeah, this is where I just say you're completely wrong.
Okay?
Okay. You're thinking too far ahead here, all right? You got to stick with the games that they need to win. Defense wins championships, offense wins games, and that's why it's Bragasan, the forward, junior forward, all right, junior. Okay, he is a leader in this team, and he's supposed to be producing and helping be consistent for the team. For the team's offense, he hasn't been able to do that. First 2 games of the season, scored 0 goals and 0 points. And in the next 3 games, he scored 3 straight goals. And then afterwards, 0 goals. And then against Siena in the overtime win, he scored 2 goals in an overtime win. 2 goals in an overtime game against Siena, who they beat in the quarterfinals pretty easily. And then against Northeastern, like we previously mentioned, he scored 0 goals. So there's no offense to be found. And when you find the offense going, then you can worry about the goalies during the postseason.
I mean, Gage, you said it yourself. Brog Austin was able to score 2 key goals in that Siena game, including the overtime winning goal. So I don't see how you need him to step up when he literally got the win for them this weekend. And also, to my point too, they have other people who can step up on the offensive end when Austin may not be getting it done. David Percedo we've seen contribute. Tomas Vekula we've seen contribute. At the end of the day, to your point, offenses can win games. It's important. You got to score goals. But at the end of the day, defenses win championships, and it's centered all around your goalie. So at the end of the day, they got to make sure they have the right person in between the types. And, Haji Gabriel, man, got to step up. You got to get back to your start of season form.
Hey, but end of the day, you said it again. End of the day, end of the season, it's all about winning the championship. And of course, that's with the defense. I agree with you on that. But you got to start off somewhere with the offense and the offensive approach. And yet, Tomas Vekula has been not performing as well as Brog Austin. He has been filling in those games. He's been shutting down. So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we will.
Now let's move on from men's soccer to women's. For the first time ever, the team has 4 goalkeepers on the roster. What goalie will end up being the number 1?
So I'll take this one first to start this time. I think it's going to be Sofia Lo-Spinoso. Just because, obviously, kind of a similar situation. You're already shaking my head.
I'm already shaking my head. I don't agree with
Let me explain first. So, obviously, at the start of the season, it was Megan Phillips, by far. She's, had great performances, had a goals against average of 0.83 for the first 6 games played, 2 shutouts in that span as well against Lafayette and Yale. But keep in mind, I'm getting back to my RPI ranking system here. Lafayette is ranked number 306 in the rankings. The Bobcats are, somewhere up in the top 100. Yale, 141. Okay, so right there, those matchups are not of a higher quality competition level as you would expect. The ranking for Quinnipiac, to be exact, is number 98. Monmouth, where they played, is number 78. And guess who gave up 2 goals right in the first half? Megan Phillips did. So I can understand why Coach Dave Clark was like, okay, let's change it up a little bit. Let's throw Sofia Lo-Spinoso in there. And she has balled out and performed. She's given up a goal games average of just 0.4. She shut out Monmouth when she got into the game in that second half and has only given up 1 goal to be exact, in that span. That was against Niagara, which is also one of the top-ranked teams in RPI as well, that being number 89, which is also above Quinnipiac. So to the point of, success brings out the good measures. Sofia Lo-Spinoso has been the person in goal right now. So at the end of the day, I think you got to give it to her based on the numbers.
Okay, yeah, based on the numbers. But you got to look at it this way. All right, it was Monmouth. Okay, I respect that Lo-Spinoso was able to. She had a shutout in the second half. But yet again, it's Monmouth.
Fair.
They're probably one of the best teams in the MAC. And Quinnipiac has had a tough time overall against Monmouth. They just won their first game against them last year in the regular season. And then you saw what happened. And you saw what happened in the postseason. They came back and they got their revenge and ended up winning the MAC title. Mm-hmm. And from that point on, I think that Megan Phillips still has to be the best, has to be the number 1 starter, because yeah, she'll have her ups and downs. I'm not going to say she won't, but she's been consistent all the way through. And you did mention all the RPI stats and all that, and that's great. Mm-hmm. But you got to look at it from a improvement standpoint. All right, she's going to be improving eventually,
right?
And but she will get there. And I understand all the stats and everything.
Megan Phillips is a junior.
Hasn't that much time in. She hasn't had that much time in, and Megan Phillips has had more time.
Hey, look at this. Megan Phillips is a junior. Sofia Lo-Spinoso is a sophomore, so I think Megan Phillips should already be at a more consistent rate. But
Megan Phillips is
maybe there's something we don't know about. Maybe there's something we don't know about.
On Sunday, the Field Dog team got their first win of the season against the Yale Bulldogs. What clicked for the Bobcats?
So, I'll let you start off this one, Gage.
Perfect. Yeah, so we were both at that game, and so,
yes.
So that was a fun game indeed, Eric, I must say. And I have to say, the offense is not just Mozzarella. That was a big question coming into this game, was who was going to be the goal scorer for this team. And it wasn't just Mozzarella. We also saw Brooke Whipke giving not just any goal, but the game-winning goal in overtime. And nowhere on the field when she scored that goal was Mozzarella. They had Mozzarella off, and I was really impressed by the fact that this proves that this team isn't just one player. Because going in, we noticed that Yale was doing a great job defending Mozzarella, but she was able to find a way to score 2 goals somehow, because she's very impressive to watch on the field as a first-year student nonetheless. But we was able to find a senior nonetheless, a senior captain, to come through with helping out with the team for the victory.
Yeah, I'm with you there as well. I would say focus more on the defense in that game that really got to that Brooke Whipke overtime goal. You know, you mentioned it wasn't just Mozzarella, and you're correct, because Stella Tickmeyer was also in the way, deflecting passes. Same with Amanda Finaro. We saw her take a big shot to the chest in a penalty corner, if you may remember in that game as well. But again, you know, those types of plays are game-winning field hockey plays. And granted, is this team a contender? No. They're 1-9, let's face it. But in that game, they played like a contending field hockey team because they really wanted that win. They wanted to, you know, get themselves back to a high level of good play. And, you know, those type of plays from Finaro stepping in the net is a good way to do it. And, you know, those type of plays made it easier for someone like Mac Farrell to not have to worry about it so much. She only had to make 7 total saves in that game, but 3 of those saves were made each in the second and third quarter. She didn't have to do anything after the third quarter of play in terms of saves-wise. So, hey, it helps when your defense to come in and step up too.
Yeah, I agree with the defense. It was a tough decision overall between the offense and the defense. Overall, the team played great that day. I think we both can agree on that.
Oh, yeah.
It is time to take a break, but don't go anywhere as we discuss the men's and women's ice hockey teams with a brand new segment.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? I'm high. Oh.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a unique mix of all kinds of things.
Come on, Drew, spot on this last one. There it is.
Keep going with it. Leo! They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made home ownership happen. Homeschooling yourself on loans, beefing up your credit score.
So I'm pre-approved.
You were like, yes! Sorry. Color-coding listings, ticking boxes, and flushing every toilet in a 20-mile radius. Home, sweet home. You aced house hunting. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
I know what you're thinking. I need a job.
I need a new career.
Well, I've been there.
I've been there.
I've been there. I wasn't happy with what I was doing.
After high school, I didn't have a plan.
I just wanted to start working.
I got laid off twice, but you gotta keep going.
You just need the right skills. Find an apprenticeship.
I found a 2-year IT program.
I found a medical course online.
I'm now a consultant in the tech space.
You have more options than you think. You can do this.
You will find something.
You will find something new.
Welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. I would like to introduce to you our stress meter segment. The stress meter can mean stress from the school, the fans, coaches, or preseason rings. Let's start out with men's ice hockey.
Yeah, thanks Keith. And Gage, I hope you're not too stressed out for this segment coming up
We'll
right
see.
here.
It might be a bit stressful when it's all said and done.
We have a lot of those puns coming up. But for the first question that we're talking about, in terms of where the Bobcats are heading out to the Twinken tournament, going against a tough BC opponent ranked at number 7 in Northeastern in the Icebreaker tournament. For that, I'm concerned, and the main reason is because, as you see right there, a little bit concerned, a little bit above the line. That being the case because it's a high-stakes matchup, right? It's number 9 Quinnipiac going against number 7 Boston College. Northeastern could pose some pressure as well. They're also ranked number 18 in the UCHO poll. And you got to think of, the last year pressure kicking in as well from not being able to execute in postseason play. They were the best team in the ECAC hockey, but they only had to win one game to get to the conference, get a higher seed in the NCAA tournament out of their own conference tournament, but they lost to St. Lawrence. And then following that up in the first round of Minnesota State, they blew a 3-1 lead in that game as well to not advance farther in postseason play. But I'm not too overly nervous where I'm at the red alert level because as we know, this team is still very, very good. They still have a lot of good players coming back, and they lost Keith Petruzzelli, but St. Cyr is solid in the goaltending net as well. They still have Ty Smolanek, a bunch of other players on the roster. So because of the talent level, I'm not approaching the high reds right now, but I'm a little bit concerned based on last year's history.
Okay, yeah, so I'm going to take your concern. I'm going to move it up a notch.
Okay.
Red alert, actually.
Whoa, you're
I'm
taking
taking
out
a-
over
taking a
there.
big steep.
Oh
over
my
here.
goodness.
That,
Why?
The main reason why is, like you mentioned before, it's they have their high hopes right now. They're a high hope team. You got 6 grad transfers coming over from some of the most elite programs: Notre Dame, Denver, and of course we got someone from the defending national champions, UMass Amherst. So they have all this hype going for them that they have a chance to try to make a run for it, and some view this as a national championship team. Now we know in years past when they've had a great attempt at making it to the national championship and winning it, they've lost both games and pretty embarrassingly 5-0 to Yale, and then of course 6-1 to North Dakota in 2016. Who will they face against later this season? So this weekend coming up at the Icebreaker tournament for Boston College Northeastern, I think it'll test their will here early on.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I'm at a red alert is because it's more for the gear towards the fans and how they view it.
Right.
So they view it as, oh, we lost to Boston College to be Northeastern. We're not doing too well because Boston College is 7th and we're 9th, and we should be able to have the capability to beat them.
Yep.
But we didn't do it. And that makes people worried about this team going forward and thinking, oh, we're not going to be good, this, that, or the other. Where I think that's where my main concern is. That's why I have it a red alert is because of
Yeah, I would
fans.
definitely factor in the fans and also the media as well to kind of make a stressor for this men's hockey team. But we know how successful Rand Pecknold is. We know the culture that, using his own words, the culture that he builds within that program. So at the end of the day, I think this is a good tune-up for him. Going forward, the match history is in favor of Quinnipiac against Boston College. So we'll have to see how that one all goes down.
The Bobcats will face off against number 7 ranked Boston College and Northeastern in the Icebreaker tournament this weekend. With Quinnipiac ranked 9th, what factors should be a stressor for the Bobcats' potential fall or win after the tournament?
Gage, you want to kick it off this time first?
Yeah, I'll kick it off. I view them as more of an orange in this situation because, once I said before, it's going to be a very interesting situation where they have it at. And it scares me a little bit, like you said, that with how it all turns out, under the concern level.
Mm-hmm.
And I view it personally that they have to really kick it into high gear. And depending on how this tournament goes, I think it'll portray what will happen for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where overall I believe it will be said. And that's where I think it's going to be said and done. It's going to be depending on how this tournament perceives itself to be. It will lead to how the rest of the season will go.
Yeah, I'm with it. I'm a little bit lower in the scale compared to you. I'm more cautious just because, obviously they're losing Keith Petruzzelli and he's had a lot of accolades. ECAC Hockey Goaltender of the Year, first team selection as well. Also a Hobie Baker finalist selection as well. But the guy coming in, Dylan St. Cyr, is not bad either. He had a 9.21 save percentage. That was just a few points lower than Keith Petruzzelli. Also a 2.44 goals against average. Keith's was around 1.89, so not too far there. And obviously, as a grad transfer from Notre Dame, he comes in with that experience level also. So definitely not a new transition. Not like you're throwing Evan Fear into the back of the net right there as a young guy, right? You come in with this guy coming in to take in. Granted, obviously there's still a little bit of level of stress there because, again, filling up to the expectations of the fans, of the media, trying to fill in the big shoes of Keith Petruzzelli is definitely a little bit to worry about there. But then again, we know who's behind him. Rand Pecknold's behind him. They got a good culture, a good team surrounding him. So I think the up is in the up. So I'm a little bit lower than you, but I'd say we probably have about similar
I'd say we're at the
ideals.
same level right now. Yeah, how it looks.
With star goalkeeper Keith Petruzzelli finally graduated from Quinnipiac, the Bobcats have a brand new goalie. Dylan St. Cyr decided to transfer from Notre Dame to play here in Hamden. What factors should be a stressor for Dylan as he takes Petruzzelli's spot?
think we already answered this question, but I think we are still have another men's hockey question on the docket, that being about Odin Tufto and Bon Giovanni. So we're going to kind of jump to that. In terms of the captain stuff, I will say that I'm not worried at all. Basically because, with Bon Giovanni, they're both different players. Obviously, Tufto was a great leader. He was the facilitator for this team, but I'm not concerned about him filling the player level role. I'm more concerned about the leadership role. And I think with that men's hockey team, if they pick the right guy to come into that spot, I don't see an issue with Bon Giovanni stepping in and doing it. He's contributed in the past for this team, 5 goals, 3 assists. So at the end of the day, I don't see it being an issue. That's why I'm very low right now. I'm not worried at all.
That's where I'm in a different story right here.
Okay.
I think, personally speaking, from the December 26th game against AIC, he had a torn ACL, and he was out for a majority of the season. And the big reason why, problem for that was he didn't play that much, and he was a big benefactor, like you said, Eric. And that's where I think it's going to be. That's where I'm a little bit cautious, a little bit concerned, and it's not too concerned, but almost at that point. But generally speaking, I think that it all comes down to his health. And seeing that injury in the AIC game it did scare me a bit. And after he came back with force, and he came back with as much power as possible overall in the situation. And I think, and it depends on, and he helped out the men's in the NCAA tournament and in the ECAC championship game by being an assist for a couple of those goals, and eventually end up being losses, but they were 1-goal losses. And that's where, and him and as a captain, I think he'll be great. But it depends on how the team will rebound if he's sitting on the bench due to an injury. Yeah,
in terms of talent level, I'm not too concerned with that because it's all about being the captain. But, we'll see how his leadership skills will come into play.
Now let's move on to women's ice hockey. With 3 first-years scoring a point, the expectations greater for this group, and what factors could be a stressor for the first years?
You want to start with women's hockey? This is your beat.
This is my beat this year. Yeah, I'll start off with it. I have the code orange for the start off of this one because it's more it's not for the fact that it's the fans that'll be worried about them or the head coach Cass Turner, because they'll be understanding that it's a first-year student. But overall, I think that I'm more worried about is themselves. Okay, especially with Maya Labad and Frederic Node, because they play before. And they were part of the U18 Canadian team together back then, and they played great. They were tremendous together. And we saw it in the exhibition against UConn. They were tremendous together. And then this past weekend against LIU, they tallied 3 points total this past weekend. Maya Labatt was scoring her first career goal as a Bobcat, and I think it's just depending on how much they expect of themselves this season. And if they don't perform to where they expect to be, they might beat themselves up. That's where I'm a little bit worried.
Right, but at the end of the day, I'm not sure what the characters of these players are like, but they're all first years, right? This is their chance to learn and really develop under the system of Cass Turner. Granted, this is why I'm a little bit, again, concerned, cautious level, because they're not expected to perform right away. And Cass Turner knows that. That's why they're getting these players their minutes right now in easier games like against an LIU and those other weaker teams on the schedule. Because, at the end of the day, going against those bigger teams is an opportunity for those younger players to step in and really perform. There's still Sadie Pert's still there, Leska Hoskin and Olivia Mobley are there, still top leading goal scorers over in that area. So at the end of the day, they're going to take the time to really learn under these younger players. In my opinion, I don't think they'll get in right away, but granted, I do understand that being a first year comes with a lot of pressure, trying to find minutes, trying to find playing time, trying to impress the Bobcat fans that you belong and you're out here. But that's why I'm not as high as you yet, because they don't have to worry about it too much, because they still have a very experienced class returning that is able to guide them to that point.
It is time for the final break of the night, but do not go anywhere because it is time for the final roars.
Kevin. Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's put a ride home.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Welcome back. Now it is time for final roars. Gage, start us off.
Without further ado, I will. Thank you, Keith. The Quinnipiac women's ice hockey team is off to a hot start, going 4-0 and currently 8th in the latest UCHL rankings. This upcoming weekend, they'll be taking on St. Anselm out of the New Hot Conference, where we will see Cass Turner try something new with the lines. But one thing to pay attention to is first years Maya Labad and Anne Frederic Node, two Canadian players from Montreal who have shown what they are capable of during their exhibition game against UConn. Furthermore, first years and another great weekend against LIU where both scored at least 1 point. Node scoring 2 and Labad with 1 being her first collegiate goal. Moving forward in their Bobcat careers, you will see their names on the score sheet of all their games.
It was a historic first win of the season for Quinnipiac field hockey just a couple days ago. But one win does not mean that this team is now an instant playoff contender. Instead, it's a sign of growth and a good sign for the future. For the Bobcats, it's no secret that their future is centered around Amelia Massarelli. The first year from Argentina was Quinnipiac's lone goal scorer until Brooke Whipke's overtime winner gave the Bobcats their 7th goal of the season. Her 6 goals, Massarelli's that is, have been scored in just 10 games of play, and that has already matched the pace, scored by the entire team last season. Head coach Becca Main already praised Massarelli for her talents with her ability to glide past her defenders and nail the toughest of shots with multiple opponents in her face. Now, Massarelli is the cornerstone, but it's up to the rest of the coaching staff to find more talent to play around her and to make that entire team into a legitimate threat.
Head coach Becca Main of Quinnipiac Field Hockey coached the team for over 26 years. She's seen a lot of special players on the Bobcats roster during her time. But she might have hit the jackpot on this player. Coach Main has said that first year, Amelia Massarelli will go down as the best player she has ever had. That is a crazy thing to say about a first year. Massarelli has come all the way from Argentina to join this roster during this past Sunday. She scored her 5th and 6th goals against the Yale Bulldogs, while also helping Quinnipiac get their first win of the season. But most importantly, her parents traveled all the way to Hamden to watch their daughter play. Amelia Massarelli will go down as the best Quinnipiac field hockey player of all time when she graduates. That is all the time you will have for tonight. Make sure to check out our website at q30tv.com and visit our Twitter at q30sports. From the producers to everyone behind the scenes, from myself, Eric, and Gage, we thank you for joining us for the show, and good night.